I listened to your address, and
Oh,
I listened to, yes, I did. I listened to David, um,
oh,
really generous
mm,
explanation of how you became an explorer. First
yeah.
of all, tell us what's the big deal about being an explorer, and what's the big deal for you about being an explorer?
Mm, I think I never really saw myself uh, as, an explorer, would define myself that way, because I always used to think that an explorer meant, I climbed to the top of Everest, and
Who's
when
you're
those people are Explorers Club members,
right.
but where I found my niche actually, and where it feels so much of a fit, is that part of it, at its heart, there's a distinction that I think Dave makes that I really like, which is, like, an adventurer is someone who goes and does something and said, I did this. An explorer is somebody who goes and discovers something and brings it back and shows people, I learned this. And the Explorers Club is actually predominantly focused on scientific exploration. Um, and part of that includes writing, filmmaking, kind of the dissemination of what you not discover, because we're not discovering anything that's, I see my role as an explorer is I'm illuminating um, things that are happening in other parts of the world, or with scientific exploration, like, for example, very specifically, um and I'm writing about them, and then in this particular case I'm building an actual, like, I have an actual colleagues in India that I'm just helping to kind of amplify their voice into a Western audience awareness raising. So um I've been writing I've been writing now for exploration for maybe 4 or 5 years, and that's why Don said Don Walsh, who co-sponsored me, who was an amazing storyteller, who went to the deepest part of the ocean, the Marianas Trench, in the 60s. And anyway, he sponsored me because the role of storytellers in exploration is a vital piece of how we understand our world. And now the Explorers Club has really expanded. I'm proud that since my involvement there, I've been involved in the diversity, equity, and inclusion committees. I'm on the founding um, one of the founding judges for the Explorers 50, which really looks into backyard exploration and all across the world to celebrate people who are working in their own communities towards conservation, exploration, and the arts as it relates to exploration. So, and then I just recently was appointed to the Rolex committee, and I did have a flag and a Rolex for
What's
the.
the what is the big deal about a flag and a Rolex? I mean,
So
I
okay,
knew a
yeah,
Rolex.
yeah. Well, it sounds kind of funny, I think, so, um, especially given, like, the colonialism history of exploration. Like, we're planting flags everywhere. It's not really about that. The flag program has been, and boy, David could whip this out, like, because he used to be the head of Flag and Honors. So it's a when members go on expeditions, or go um an expedition is considered something that you're going to find something out, you're going to learn something, to work with people on the ground, and to kind of advance science in a meaningful way, advance our understanding of the world in a meaningful way, in a novel way. um that might be a feat, but it, like, a physical feat, or it may be an actual something you do with a team. The flag program has been in place, oh gosh, since, well, my flag was from 1937. and you have to apply, and the application is quite stringent. You have to say what your goals are for the expedition, who your team members are, why you're qualified to be a leader. There aren't a lot of female leaders right now of flagged expeditions, and I hope to. I think it. I think it's. I hope to help more women apply for them, because I feel like it's a lot of us just are going out there and doing something and not really thinking, oh, I need a fly, but it is part of a history of the club. And for me, it's been very, very helpful to the community's been incredibly helpful. To be honest, I spent a lot of time with people in my town, which has a huge exploration community. But as a mom with children, even in high school, was when I started my elephant project. And I'd come back and people would say to me in the grocery store, oh, how was your trip? Like it was a vacation. And, who was watching the kids? And there's still this sense of like I'm on vacation, like I'm doing some vacation. And it's hard to explain to people that you're actually like on paper it looks like, oh, you're going to these exotic places and you're doing this, and who's paying you, and oh, you're getting grants for it, or funders are paying for it, or sometimes you're self-funding it so that you can do something with. But when you're at the Explorers Club, you're surrounded by people who never ask those questions.
Oh, it's your
Who
own
are
time.
just get it,
Yeah,
who just
yeah.
get it. And that feels really special.
Well, I looked through your long list of nonfiction articles, you wrote fictional articles, and it appeared to me that you made a shift, and
Mm,
Teri's doing it, and this video podcast is very much about people who are driven by their passion. And I
mm,
understand you were passionate about writing before, but there seems to have been a change about
mhm.
2017, 2018. And how would that lead you to where you are now?
Yeah. Um, so when I first left my MFA program, I began writing short fiction. I won some awards. I was a stay-at-home mom, so I had some flexibility to write and write and write. And I started a novel. And then, I got into some writers. So I was building a fiction career slowly, but I had some short fiction published. And then I went through my divorce, and I needed, to be working, bringing in some income. Uh, and then, so I took the job at SVPN as the editor. And then I was writing for an audience in a different way. It was so, so great for me. I had that role from 2014 just till about 2017, I think. And I wrote multiple nonfiction articles every month, and
You
edited it.
interviewed Jewel, you interviewed Alvin
Yeah,
Sloan,
Oliver Stone, because we were we were the media partner for a lot of the big events that happen here. So and Batman, I mean, oh my God, I had, and I really loved, I learned how to you know, write for an audience in a different kind of a way, and write for Deadline in a different kind of a way. So all this was kind of happening. And then um, when when I started doing more and more of the Explorers Club events with Dave, who was the head of Flag and Honors at the time, I would meet these scientists and explorers who were doing these incredible things, but they were only writing about them in scientific journals. Like no one really knew about them. So I started partnering with people to do stories in their voice. And I really loved doing that. And then of course, like trying to find the media partner for it. But there came a time right around 2017 where I realized I needed more freedom and flexibility to pursue this other avenue of kind of exploration, conservation, writing. And so I was able to make that transition into freelance. And I started working for Maptia, which devastatingly is no longer even, you can't even find it on the site anymore. But that's how I met Paul and Christina and was able to do their book. And then I was involved in a bunch of different, I was still writing my novel, but I was involved in a bunch of different projects, feeling like I was always writing in someone else's voice. And I was starting to kind of feel like, when am I going to have my own experience? Because when you write in someone else's voice, it's kind of interesting because, as you know, Teri, like there's a craft to writing. So you're writing in a craft, but the person believes that now they wrote it, because, well, it's my story,
Right.
but it's like,
Right.
but yeah, we edited it together, but there's a craft, and that's what I brought to the table, and I wrote the piece. So there became this time when I felt like, what do I want? And then I was on so this was 2017, 2018, and there was this moment I was on a hike with my friend. She's a National Geographic photographer, Jody MacDonald, and we were hiking at my house, right by my house, and she told me this story about. She had just come back from India. She's a world traveler, independent, like badass, adventurer, just everything. Amazing photographer. Very intimidating to me, even though I love her and she's my friend. Uh, she, she told me this story about how when she was in India, she actually saw along the Nepal border these wild elephants that were trapped in these pockets of forest that were coming across the forest each night through the villages, and the villages were coming out en masse and taking selfies. And I had this feeling, I just felt like, India wasn't even on my radar. It wasn't a place that I even felt like I ever wanted to go. I was kind of scared of Jody anyway, but something inside, I just was like, I want to tell that story with you. So I think it took another 3 weeks for me to muster up the courage to send her a text and ask if she would consider doing it. And she didn't respond for 2 weeks because apparently she's like out in the bush of Alaska or something. And then I can still see in my head the text when she was like, "Sure, let's do it." And I'm like, "Oh my God, oh my God." And of course there's David just saying, "Go for it. Go for it. Let's see where it goes." And boy, we did not expect it would go like this. It's been 6 years, but yeah.
Wow. And now a book coming out, and let's transition into
Yeah.
this is a new boat. In the sense of it's not the one that everybody else is taking, but this is the
No.
one you've created, and
Yeah.
you're riding this boat for all your work. So
I'm definitely doing that.
yeah, no, I think that's great. So I'm going to show a clip in a few minutes of the
Oh,
piece of the documentary, but talk about the book. I mean, the book predated the documentary,
yeah.
no?
So at first it was, I wanted to do one story. We were going to do one story called Dime for Likes. And we got over there, and then we also thought, oh, and there's this princess that Jody had read about, who was a princess, who was the only female elephant handler, caregiver, one of the only in the world. And she had lassoed, she used to catch elephants, wild elephants, back in the day with her Raj family, and with a lasso riding an elephant. And so we were like, yeah, while we're there, we're going to find her, and we're going to ask her if we can do a story, like go with her into the jungle and document her story. And then we're going to tell this other Dying for Like story. We're going to pitch it to National Geographic. So that was our plan. So we go over there. Well, one, we missed the wild elephant season altogether. We didn't know that. Two, it took us the entire time we were there to even find the princess and get a meeting with her, which she did. She's not a princess anymore anyway. But she did grant us an hour and a half. We had to drive 3 hours for an hour and a half. And then she said, well, you have to come back in October and I'll meet with you. And Jody's like, no problem. Or August, I think she said, like basically in 2 months, come back to India and we'll do it. And I'm like, I have children. I can't just come back to India. And so I did, because I also realized very quickly that I don't know anything about this culture. I don't know who am I to tell this story and bring it to the West? I mean, that would be irresponsible. And so I was fascinated. So I just kept going back and learning more and writing about it in different articles. And then when COVID and I have a mentor who in the UK who's been amazing, Anthony Geffen. He's the creative director and CEO of Atlantic Productions, who have done many of David Attenborough's productions. So I've been very lucky. He's read the book twice. He's helped me with the documentary. I'm going to be editing there. So during COVID, he's like, Tim, get to it. And I was like, all right. So I started writing the book, which I thought was going to be, a nonfiction piece about the human elephant conflict along the Eastern Himalaya. But what it turned into was a memoir of how did I get to be who am, how does a woman who's got two children at home, who is this age, who's kind of reinventing herself on so many levels, who's scared of everything.
Perfect.
And how does that woman do this, and why, and and then I'm the donkey carrying people into the story. So through my experience, then others will see what I saw when I saw it, learn what I learned when I learned it, and just be and be with me for the battles that I had to fight to pursue the thing. So that's what the book's about.
But I still love that. And because when I look at the photographs and the video clip that I'm seeing, there's such a tenderness for the Indian people, and such a you come at it from a standpoint of judgment.
Oh no. Yeah.
But it's very much a profile of the unfortunate conflict that affects
I
so
have
many.
such love, so much love for my colleagues and friends there, that this is part of why when I finished the book, I thought, this is for a Western audience. I didn't mean to be so much a part of my story in it, but it's the right way to write the book. But now I want to do a documentary where I'm not in it, that really gives voice to their story there, because they're trusted me. They're giving me so much. They're teachers and guides, and they've trusted me, let me in. And this is one reason why I'm also basically, self-funding the film with private donations and funders, because I can't risk giving that. It's too easy to turn that story into a stereotype, and I cannot risk that.
I love that the book is almost a companion piece to the real story.
That's what we're hoping.
First, it's coming out, you hope, in January of 25?
Yes, that's the goal. So
that's going to be amazing, and I can't wait to read it. It's going to be inspiration in a way that I hope these podcasts are inspirational to people who are listening to right now. So we're almost out of time, but before we go, I really want to play this clip
Yeah.
of the documentary, and so let's tune in.
बाकी सदा बिना इधर जा रहा
डेक्सी के कराही हुने फेंकाई जा रहे ईमन के सब ई तो निकल जा रही ने वो हुने छोवा ई बापा तो कारी भीतरे है रहे तब मैं और तैर के निकला लेके बोले और भाई की बोले वो डेक्सी माने उगाट बन को दे हुने सब के खाइला चाउर चाउर बोरा के तो पापो नहीं कर
You know, as the crow flies, we are just 120 kilometers from the third highest mountain in the world. Now, normally, you don't have this dramatic shift from 800 to 26,000 feet within this short area of 120 kilometers. So this compresses the biodiversity into this very small area.
You may see the distance between the village and the national park is only 100 meters. So it's within the elephant habitat.
उस दिन मतलब आज से करीब 5-6 दिन पहले ये जो एलिफेंट के द्वारा ये डैमेज हुआ
So they are saying that that particular house is broken by elephant at least 8 times. So now they are not living or they are not sleeping at night in their own house.
We're going to try and take a look at how the landscape patches together and the paths that the elephants go through. So we're actually a really good place to show the landscape situation because there's forest on this side. Sonia's tea garden is in the middle, and then there is forest on the other side, and then there are communities throughout, and Kishore's village actually is off to the distance here.
कोई छोटा छोटा बम मिलता है या लाइट मिलता है छोटा छोटा सर्च लाइट मिलता है उसके सिवा और कुछ भी नहीं है
डर लगता है पूरा घर में आ जाने से तो डर लगता है ना हम लोग को दिक्कतें हैं धान खा देते हैं सब फसल को एक भी घर में ढुकाने नहीं सकते हैं
धान लगाते हैं वो धान अपना लगाने के बाद घर पे सकुशल धान को काट के नहीं ला पाते, सबका सब खत्म कर देता है हाथी।
Once it was a forest and then it's converted into tea bushes, okay, tea plantations. When it go for the tea plantation, it will never be a forest again. The elephants are the so intelligent animal and they only understand the roots. So they don't forget what is the roots. So they are using the same path that they are using previously. And they are moving between these tea gardens because these tea gardens once was a part of forest.
It's kind of like a ping pong that happens, you know, that they're not wanted here, they're driven from here, then they're not wanted there. And the elephants it just succeeds in getting them very agitated.
This is a tragic scenario. I am responsible for my works, responsible for every single step that I take towards the conservation of wildlife. That's my dedication towards my duty. It's my duty and I'm bound to do that.
So during monsoon season, the patrols never stop. They happen twice a day, on foot, in vehicle, and on elephant back in the thickest part of the forest.
So this is the vehicle that was upturned in Cursion by a tusker. All staffs were inside the vehicle, and this is a day-to-day risk that they face. Right now he is admitted at Anandalok with a damaged spleen.
Oh, you must see this finger. This was a reflex. I don't know how my left hand came here to protect my neck. It's the bite mark, and my left hand divided in two parts. Here you can see. After losing my hand, partial vision, I tried to save the animal, but it's beyond my limitation to control a mob of thousands of people. And
वो 70 साल के पुराने मेमोरी के हिसाब से हाथी का घर है ये। वहाँ पे ह्यूमन लोगों ने घर बनाया, आदमी घर बना के बैठ गए, शहर बन गया, बड़ा बड़ा इंडस्ट्रीज बन गया, वो जंगल अभी ख़त्म हो गया।
So this baby calf was actually born here. I think the elephant that we were on patrol with this morning was her mother.
It's my responsibility and it's my duty to protect these creatures, these last creatures. So I will go to the last extent.
आ जाता है घर को तोड़ने के लिए, उसको मजबूरी से पीपल के साथ मिलना पड़ रहा है। ये हमारा जो भीड़ भाड़ इलाका है, गांव है, वहाँ पे उसको आना पड़ रहा है।
बाहर न निकली तो कभी कभी तो आदमी को भी मार देता है। कितना आदमी मार देता है।
hope that I found is that these are the children's are our gift. The new generation is our hope. So we can engage them.
I feel that tea estates can actually play a really vital role in their conservation.
Actually, we are not trying to save any animal, we are not trying to save wildlife or nature, because thinking about our environment, thinking about any particular species or wildlife, it's just actually trying to save ourselves.
I cannot express the admiration that I have for your passion and for your generous. This is generous what you're doing to help people on the other side of the world tell a story. What do you want us to know about those people and about? You're leaving tomorrow, right? You're going back.
Yeah, going back. I'm taking my niece. I'm so thrilled about this. I have all the footage I need, but I am taking my niece because she's so interested in the project I've been working on, and she loves animals and nature, and she's wanted to help me. And so it's her senior project for school, and we are going for 3 weeks, and I'm thrilled because I'll be able to see all my friends and colleagues in a less stressful scenario. So I'm going to kind of be able to enjoy that time. There's a lot of noise surrounding this area, the human-elephant conflict, the way that humans are treating elephants, the way humans are destroying habitats, and all that is true. I mean, that is truth. What is less visible are the people who are devoting their everyday life to the point of illness, hunger, ridicule from their families, hopelessness, that they're dedicating every moment to fixing this problem in their communities. And it's working. There are solutions. So I feel like what they don't have is kind of the political will and the financial support and the infrastructure that could help them get it, really make a difference here, really make a difference. And when you think about African elephants and elephants in Africa, there is widespread international knowledge of what the problems are and widespread international support and collaboration and cooperation. In India, there is some degree of that, but not to the extent. And actually, people in the U.S. primarily don't even realize that female elephants don't have tusks, and that while poaching is an issue, it's not the issue. It is not the urgency that is creating the disappearing of the habitats that are actually creating the endangered species, and that the human beings there are suffering. So they're not the ones creating the superhighways. This is the thing. So we need understanding, cultural understanding, and it's complex. So I'm trying to give voice to that. That was a long answer. Sorry, Teri.
No, I am just so appreciative that you would spend this time with us and we go through all of these things. I guess the last thing that I really want you to talk about is what your book is probably about, which is, you have somebody sitting out there watching this video who considers their life very ordinary, but
Yeah.
always has wanted to do more. What
Mhm.
advice do you give that person? How do you, what's the first step? How do they follow
Yeah.
their own passions?
You know, one of the things I had to distill that, what's this book about or what's my life about? But there were two kind of sentences that really hit home for me. One, very jarringly, is this quote that I found once that said, we all have two lives. The second one starts when you realize you only have one.
Oh, yes. Yes.
And the other thing is, if you want to fix something, you have to act. And that doesn't mean a grand gesture. It doesn't have to mean a grand gesture. Like when I was leaving my marriage and it was just awful, I couldn't see that I could be sitting here right now. It's like there's no way. And I remember Dave would say to me often, you have to take the long view. And I'm like, I suck at taking the long view. But if you take the long view, meaning be in the present, take one step at a time, know that the universe has your back. It really does. I definitely believe that. And you don't have to have, you just have to act one small step at a time. And if you're in a situation that you can't get out of, build a community and you find support and you just do one small action, and they will build on each other until you're through the bramble bush.
Well, your life exemplifies that. And if there is someone who wants to follow your trajectory from here, where should they do that?
Well, I am on Instagram. That is my main, even though I struggle with getting more, like I'm at Kim Frank Writer on Instagram. And I also have a website. Kim Frank Writer is also my website. But if you find me on Instagram, you can also email me at kim@kimfrankwriter.com. And I'm, I would say go to Instagram first if you have it, because then that's usually where I update on everything I'm doing and things that are happening and all the stuff. And I hope to evolve that.
Yes, you may find that you get a couple emails from the neighborhood. We're going to put this out there.
Wonderful.
Yeah, it's been such a pleasure to spend time with you. I hope we get to see each other again very, very soon.
Me too.
Thank you for what you're doing.
Teri, thank you for what you're doing, because you're giving voice. You're giving people like me a chance to have a voice. And I think in a story, this is the story to me. I feel like you're doing this story yourself. You're retired. You've created a podcast that gets to the heart of what I think. I'm going to be a little sexist here, but I think women in particular really, really need. We need people like you that can give voice to stories like this, so that the people out there have a path that they may not thought about.
Well, keep them coming. We can't wait for the next installment.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kim.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.